Aidersonenfant.com.
Thank you for watching, everyone. This podcast is a co-production between Aidersonenfant.com and la Fondation Jeunes Tête. I am speaking with psychotherapist Paméla-Andrée Nérette, and we are talking about treatment for depression. Paméla, what are the risk factors that we look at in terms of an evaluation?
Depression is multifactorial, something that we understand as that clinicians would call it as biopsychosocial problem. First, there may be genetic vulnerabilities in a teenager. For example, I like to say that everything we inherited from our parents and what we bequeath to our children, is not just the color of our eyes to our children, but the whole emotional baggage. So this is called, for example, intergenerational transmission. There's also the psychological factor, the subjective experience of, the teenager. So this is how the child experiences the various stressors with the triggers in him. It could be, that will impact his thoughts, his moods, his emotion, his behaviors. So therefore, a more sensitive child, for example, will feel more easily responsible, who slightly have more fragile self-esteem, who quickly internalizes his problems, could be more at risk of developing a depressive effect. And finally, there's also the social factors, can be triggers as well, such as bullying, which is a
big thing.
Big one. Oh, yeah, bullying, especially these days, bullying through media. We know about that. Violence experience, witnessing violence, breakups, drugs. So these are factors that can be precipitating. But in the assessment of depression, the child is assessed and also the environment when it's possible. So, for example, the family comes in with a child who is not well. I like to use the image of a plumber. So let's say, for example, the family comes to a faucet problem. We will look at the entire plumbing structure in the house, and we say to ourselves, "Oh, maybe it's going badly." So This is the child having problem, but basically it's the pipe on the second floor that is blocked. So there may be something that the child expresses, but he expresses it for all the functioning of the family. So sometimes the child, is carrying and living a trauma, for example, that the parents themselves have experienced.
I really like your image of the plumber and the leaking pipe. That's very interesting. So what I'm getting from that is that it will come to the consciousness of the family that there might be something else or something that was given to him that maybe doesn't belong to him in its entirety or something like that. Have you seen in your practice situations that where the parents live something, but it's actually the child who's suffering from something they didn't live themselves?
Yes, I've seen that many times. For example, we call that an anniversary date. For example, a parent himself had been through a trauma, for example, at 11, 12 years old, buried that trauma because, there was no space and or no one around to just take care of this big emotional distress and baggage, and that passed that on, not only the color of the eyes, pass on to the child, and suddenly at 11, 12, 13 years old, then the child has having some symptoms, and then it comes to therapy, and we're looking at the child and say, oh, well, the family is very good structure, good parenting, what's going on? And then we go in the history of the family and we find these little, history of trauma, and then it's an invitation for this mom or dad to look at something in their own infancy, that was left aside. For the parents who come in therapy with their child, I recommend to be open on what, we could find in this story and be very open-minded. That made really very beautiful stories as well, because we can just give to the teenager what belongs to him, because of course there's this part, and also the parents can take his little
His own
suitcase.
baggage. Yeah. Oh, that's
Baggage.
so interesting. It's an interesting lens to put on depression, to see it as an occasion to grow and to look at ourselves. Paméla-Andrée, can we speak about medication? Because some parents are hesitant to give medication. Is it a good treatment? Is their fear valid? What can you tell us about that?
Yes, parents are usually very afraid of medication because they fear, and I totally understand that, they fear they will generate, an addiction to drugs.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very, very, very scary for parents. But the idea of taking medication is never a decision that is taken lightly. Our treatment plan are usually very progressive and step by step.
All right.
So the introduction of medication is not the first therapeutic response offered. We will try to first reestablish an environment that increases the protective factors. For example, reducing demands, if we're very pushy on our kids. Reestablish healthy routine of life. Eat well, sleep, sleeping, the routine, consistency, predictability. And also sometimes we're going to find out that our kids has been bullied at school, for example. So we're going to try to make a plan to stop the violence. And we will offer
psychotherapy, I guess.
Yes, psychotherapy, or just giving us speaking space with, a professional that is not necessarily a psychologist, so that he can come and deposit his deep emotional and relational concerns and in a protected space. My observations also that, teenagers, let's not forget that through all of this and the parent being afraid, we must not minimize the effort of the teen himself or her to name what he's experiencing. By the time we induce medication, perhaps the teenager has been in pain for 2 years, a year, many years. So,
is depression something that can alarm us on other diagnoses?
Yes. Depression is something, indeed, it's not rare in the path that we find something else.
Paméla-Andrée, thank you for your expertise. In the next segment, a teenager will share her story, and she is presently living with depression. Keep watching.